you very much for inviting me to your program. As always, I am not happy to talk about on the issues I would like to talk about, or I have to talk, but somebody has got to talk. That is why I'm going to join you in this uncomfortable program.
Thank you, Dr. Bayram. As our audience probably remember, a few days ago or last week, we did our 7th year anniversary celebration in Bellinzona, Switzerland, and I would like to thank the wonderful community who welcomed me over there and who, with their hospitality and warmness, and I truly honored to be invited for the 7th year of our Global Dialogue for Justice. So during that event, Dr. Bayram, you have presented one of our most heartbreaking, emotional, and really important topic, the babies in prison. And tonight, if it will be our honor for if you can continue this dialogue, this sharing of this very important topic. The floor is yours, Dr. Bayram.
Well, I'll be pleased if you could share my screen, Merjana. Thank you very much. This is one of the most disturbing presentations I'll be ever making. To be honest, babies are innocent creatures. They should be loved, cared, protected, pampered. But in autocratic regimes, unfortunately, babies are treated as if another targeted populations by those autocratic regimes, as an extension of their family members, basically, especially in political Islamic ideology. The ideology justifies treating babies as much criminals as their parents. Well, in autocratic regimes, you need not to commit any crimes to be targeted, basically. Not being perceived good enough or good loyal to the regime, then you are treated as the enemy of the regime. Well, these regimes need enemies. They always find some enemies. If they don't have one, they create one, they find one. That is why autocratic regimes are both troubles to their communities and troubles to the entire world. If we look at the world history, you will see that autocratic regimes always created havoc, wars, many atrocities in the world, either in their own borders or outside their borders, or both. Let's look at Nazi Germany. Hitler didn't stop oppressing its own populations. Started a world war, as you know. As Stalin didn't stop just oppressing its own population, started a Cold War. in all around around the world. Gaddafi, created trouble all around the world, exported terrorism to United States, United Kingdom, Europe, or another country. Iran, as an autocratic regime, they are always exporting terrorism, supporting terrorism, because they need enemies. If, as I told you, if you don't have one, they create one. That is why the babies in Turkey are created, perceived enemies of this regime, as a member of their families. Their only crime is being born to a mother whom the state decided to punish. And this is unacceptable, but it is the reality. It is justified, as I told you, in their own criminal ideology. That is why hundreds of thousands of public and private sector employees were dismissed. Tens of thousands of teachers and academics were removed from their schools. They created 3+ million terrorists, and then they put over 500,000 people in prison. When you look at that, the children behind bar data, the regime put 1,600% more babies and children behind bars to give the image that the regime, or in their own words, the country is under attack, if you believe. So that if the country is under attack, so you should imprison more babies, more adults, to support that propaganda. Babies behind the bar are an extension of that propaganda. In a sense, creating an image that those terrorists are so ruthless that they give birth to babies while fighting against the regime, to put the regime in a bad frame. If you believe, they claim that these mothers get pregnant on purpose, to put the regime in a bad position. The regime claims that these mothers get pregnant to propagandize against the regime, to put them in a bad picture, so that they can harm their countries further. If you believe, these regimes never question their propaganda, policies, their policies, their autocracy, their lawlessness. They demand absolute loyalty. If you are not absolute loyal to the regime, or you are perceived not being enough loyal to the regime, so you deserve to be put in prison, sometimes to be killed, sometimes to be hijacked, and your children deserve to be treated in the same way, because they are seeds of terrorists. They are the seeds of devil, the devil. If you look at the scene in this way, you will easily understand why this much children are behind bars. Did you know that? Did you know that it happened 5 years, 6, 7 years back? One of families died in the sea after their ship capsized. If I'm not wrong, when the bodies were brought back to better country, the municipality that received their bodies didn't provide them a funeral carriage vehicle, claiming that they don't have any vehicle to provide to tourists. When they were told, look, these were babies or children, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years old, they said they are children of terrorists. If they had grown up, if they hadn't died, if they hadn't been killed in the sea, they would be terrorists. So they deserve to be treated in the same way as a terrorist, adult terrorists. And I'm not making up this story. If you look at Turkish media, if you look at the messages of Ömer Faruk Gergerlioğlu, the human rights activist MP in Turkey, you will see his cry for justice for these sorts of babies, for these sorts of events. So there is no wonder why these babies are in prison, why they are in prison so much. It is not that their numbers that is important, that requires to pay attention. Well, they are mistreated from start to end. Let's start with how these babies end up behind bars. Some babies are detained at the hospital. When their mothers are giving birth in a hospital, security forces raid hospitals, wait before the delivery rooms. As soon as baby is born, they arrest the mother. So the newborns go to prison with them. Some babies ended up behind bars while their mothers visiting their imprisoned husbands. Well, you might wonder how these things could happen, but it is happening. Well, I get irritated while I'm talking on this subject. I always feel that someone might be thinking that I'm lying. I always get this impression because these are unbelievable events, but they are real. Well, they are in the reports, in the research reports, in human rights reports. I mean, whether they're American, European, or any other endure. But believe you me, these are occurring regularly, systematically, deliberately to terrorize the targeted population further, and also to 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 terrorize not yet targeted populations, so that they don't rise up against the regime. This is the way the autocratic regimes act. Well, let's go on how these babies end up behind bars. They are arrested while they are at their family home or nursing home with their parents, obviously. And some babies were born in prison. This is another outrageous example of the subject. According to Turkish law or international law, pregnant women or baby or women with newborn babies are not supposed to put behind bars in the interest of babies. But for this regime, as I told you, these babies are treated as the seeds of the devil. So, so there is no limitation in harassing seeds of devil. That is why these babies are put behind prison without any conscious responsibility. Let's see whether anything has changed since the beginning of the emergency period to present date. Let's say, according to my own research, which was carried in 2019 and published in 2020. I think the screen has gone, but I hope it will return. According to my findings on the research, when the children or babies were put behind bars, behind bars, the mothers or the witnesses, mostly women, reported that children in prison, were not provided any crayons, any toys, any carpets, any crawling materials. They were not allowed to have more or less anything. Sometimes, if prisoners or mothers themselves, let's say, built something out of some waste material, out of plastic or some other material, even those toys could be taken away from them, and then this was actually encouraged by the prison management and by the government policies. Okay. Another subject was when these babies were entering prison for visits or for staying with their parents, they were strip searched. In Turkey, it's called naked search too. Even their nappies were removed from their bodies, supposed to be looking for how should I say? They might be hiding arms or some other criminal material. Obviously, the government always denies doing naked search this and that, but it is undeniable by the number of the reports reported by the victims. Okay, these children were not provided any early childhood education. They were not provided any nursery. If you ask governments, they say prisons have nurseries. The children may go to school. Well, lying has low limits. Low limits. But to be honest, more or less, all international human rights reports support our claims. Okay, one of the most outrageous treatments to children was providing no food or no bed to them. Well, if we don't provide any food, any bed to children, then actually providing them with no toys, strip searching, no education, becomes ordinary, out of ordinary. Well, children were not provided any food or bed. They had to share their mother's food. They had to share their mother's bed. Okay, and this was systematic. Okay, so no food, no bed, no taste, no toys. Then it will be no wonder if those children didn't get the proper health checks, proper vaccinations, or proper specialist referrals, and these were all backed up by human rights activists or human rights organization visits to Turkish prisons. Okay, then another issue, while in the COVID-19 periods, these children did not get any protection, extra protection from the prison management. They didn't get proper water. They didn't get proper heat. If you look at the overall picture, they are all consistent. Okay, I asked the ChatGPT, let's say, whether there was any improvement from, let's say, from 2020s to 2026. Well, ChatGPT says that prison conditions did not change or got worse, but obviously the government claims otherwise. Let's see what ChatGPT listed out of international human rights reports. For example, overcrowding was an ordinary issue. These children stayed in crowded cells or crowded rooms designed for half of the population. Okay, they did not get any clean drinking water. They had to put up with freezing temperature in the winter, and then overheat in the summer times. Mothers who took them to hospitals, well, they were handcuffed sometimes, just for your information. These children were terrorized when their homes were raided, sometimes with police dogs. These babies or children didn't get proper sanitary products. They were put in pit-type prison with no sunlight, no fresh air. Well, what effects did these treatments on children? According to Turkish psychological associations, these children had significant motor skill delays. They had impaired cognitive development. Since they didn't have any early childhood education or play, they had obviously speaking impairments or movement impairments. They were traumatized by strip searches. Obviously, they had inadequate nutrition because they didn't have food that is designed for their needs. They had to share their mother's food. This means that the mothers had to have less food to be able to provide for their children. Well, that is why these children, obviously, their parents were traumatized. But according to Turkish law, UN Convention, the Bangkok rules, or European Court, these are all illegal, unacceptable. But as I told you, as reported by many human rights organizations, these are happening since 2016 to today. Okay, let's see what has changed since 2016 to today. Let's have another way of reviewing. I have told our audience many things, but let's tick mark that the events that occurred against those children again. Well, in 2016, there were 40 to 60 children in prison. Today, there are 900. In 2016, maybe there were 1,000 women in prison. Today is almost 20,000. Prisons are overcrowded, obviously. Pit-type prisons were introduced to prison populations, in a sense, cutting their sunlight and fresh air. Torture reports continue unabated. These children and their parents do not get any unconditional release or conditional release or any amnesty. So they are treated as worse as before. Obviously, Turkish government claims that children get food, bed, they have playground access, they access to schooling, they have mental health support, this and that. But these claims by the government were all denied by independent monitors, whether national or international.